How's it going, everyone? My name is Luxeley, and I am the overgrown man-child behind the microphone wearing Scooby-Doo pajamas. I'm here to talk about Champions of Dusk, or the Dusk, whatever it's called. This BG is amazing. I'm going to give you guys the overview and go over briefly what the objectives are. I'm not going to go into strategy just yet. That will be a future video. But what I will talk about, the strategy points and where you're going to converge with other players in order to gain resources or fulfill objectives. This BG is fascinating, amazing. If you're a World War II fan, did I say World War II? I meant to say World of Warcraft fan. This is a mix of A La Conquest and Strain of the Ancients, and you're like, oh my god, I don't want to touch this, I don't want to go near it, but you would be very, very deprived because it is amazing. This is done right. This is amazingly fun. There's PvP engagement, and even if you're a noob to this game, you can feel like you're contributing to your team's victory. It's that great. I can't do anything else live on Gw2 2 until this goes live. That's how wonderful it is. I haven't been involved in a PvP instance this wonderful since 5 years, literally. Let's get to it. Okay guys, here's a brief overview and some objectives you have to adhere to with this particular arena. It's very simple. Tear down the enemy's outer and inner wall, then kill their lord. Very, very simple. If time expires and neither lord is dead,
bring out today! Bring out today! There's one. Ninepence.
I'm not dead.
What?
Nothing. Here's your ninepence.
I'm not dead. Yeah. He says he's not dead.
Yes, he is.
I'm not. He isn't?
Well, he will be soon. He's very ill.
I'm getting better.
No, you're not. You'll be stone dead in a moment.
OT kicks in full throttle, the match shifts into high gear, things get crazy, intense, and amazingly fun. So, how do you tear down the enemy walls? It's a very good question. It took me 6 or 7 matches before I realized players can't damage the walls. What can I say? I possess a bit of a learning disability when it kind of comes to MMOs by companies that do not rhyme with gizzard. All right, I'm going to be 100%. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be 100% honest because I like you guys. Another player said to me, hey, super noob, players cannot damage the goddamn walls. What he or she said made a hell of a lot of sense to me because here I am, I'm popping all my whammies, spinning my rotation, and doing a big fat goose egg of damage. Makes sense, right? Yeah, just logic. Kicked in, took a while to kick in. I'm more of a class clown kind of guy than the guy who's getting the straight A's, okay? So, players can't break down the walls, can't do any damage. This is a kindergarten MMO lesson these players have yet to learn. And now, since I'm graduated from super noob to semi-pro, I kind of find this rather hilarious. And in the interest of comic relief, I'll watch them spin their wheels in the mud. And, just for a little while, because eventually they'll figure things out for themselves. So, the question remains, how do you tear down the walls? You gather supplies in 2 different ways, then use the supplies for recruits. More on the recruits in a minute or so. Supplies spawn in the middle of the map on a 15 to 20 second timer. I think it's 20 seconds. Supplies also drop in the vicinity of fallen enemy and friendly players who died while carrying supplies. You pick up and carry no more than 2 supplies at a time and bring them to your team's barracks where you recruit one of 2 different NPCs to do the grunt work, the dirty work. So, what exactly do the NPCs do for your team? It's a very good question. There are 2 different kinds of NPC recruits who perform 2 different types of tasks. The wall breakers. They are scrits. You could see what they look like right there. They carry bombs on a suicide mission with one purpose: destroy the enemy walls. That's what they do, that's how they say it. Free pizza, a naked Jennifer Lawrence, nothing distracts the scrits. They are amazingly focused. However, an enemy player can basically 2 or 3 shot them, but their bombs do a hell of a lot of damage if they execute their one and only purpose: blow up the wall. The archers are Tengu. You can see what those guys look like right there. Birdman of Alcatraz. They focus their attacks on the enemy guards, first and foremost. If the enemy guards are down, they will do light damage to the walls. If both the enemy guards and the walls are down, they will attack the enemy lord. Pretty simple, right? Now, here's where things become very, very interesting. During the match, random mists will spawn on the map. They will be announced by someone saying, "A random mist has spawned and you must go get it to," whatever, age or team, etc., etc., etc. Plus, you can see them on the map. The map is surprisingly small. Sometimes you see it right in front of your face. The first team to click and fully channel the mist will summon an NPC to aid their team. I'm going to get into more on the NPCs that you can summon in a minute or so. At the start of each match, you will choose and equip 1 out of 3 champions to summon. I believe as you gain more experience, they might have more champions that are at your disposal to summon. Not 100% sure about that. But these champions are not as overpowered as you may think, and they do serve different purpose. Now let's look at the different purposes and objectives that they tend to adhere to. Grim looks very, very pissed off because he lost a catch-up fight, and he put on a pirate hat and he's ready to vent out his frustration on your enemies. Grim is very offensive. He carries his bazooka, and he's just massive, massive in that way. Nika is highly mobile and full of trickery. She tends to offer a lot of utility. Part Xena the Warrior Princess, part Wonder Woman, and part my ex-girlfriend with a really bad case of PMS. Osa, from what I've experienced on the beta, appears to be the most useful. This is because you can send Osa on defense, giving you the opportunity to focus your attacks on offense. Osa, defensive oriented. And finally, I'm going to go over the strategic points on the map. In the future, I have every intention to produce a strategy guide for Champions of Dusk. So be sure to be subscribed for that video sometime down the road. There can be up to 12 strategic points during the match. This is very interesting and significant because there are only 5 players on each team. That means there is a much better than average chance that a key strategic point will always be left unattended. That translates into complex and fun gameplay. As a player, as a team, you are constantly adjusting to the situation, and that also makes it very fun. And I want to point out ArenaNet does an absolutely fantastic job tipping off what's going on both audibly with announcements as well as visually on the map. Going forward, I'm going to refer to the strategic points as SP. First SP, mid, the place where supplies regularly spawn on a 15 to 20 second timer. SP 2 and 3, the barracks, your team's barracks as well as the enemies. This is the place where you recruit either a wall breaker or an archer with your supplies. SP 4 and 5, the outer and inner walls. Your teams as well as the enemy teams, therefore offensive, defensive. NPC guards defend the walls. This means you can play offensive and take the enemy team's guards out, or you can play defensive and help your NPC guards take out the enemy wall breakers. SP 6 and 7, your champion and the enemy's team's champion. At any given time, your team as well as the enemy team very well could have a champion on the move, up and running, summoned, all that stuff, okay? That means you can defend your champion or choose to focus on taking out the enemy team's champion. SP 8 and 9, your team's trebuchet and the enemies. Basically, trebuchets offer, how should I put this, artillery support. That's exactly what they are. They are the best way of covering and supporting more than one SP on the map at any given time. Essentially, it's like having an airstrike. How cool is that? Having an airstrike at your fingertips in PvP. That is just amazing. SP 10 and 11, your lord and the enemy lord. When both the outer and inner walls are down, broken up, in rubble, both an offense and defense create strategic points. The Lord is very important, probably the most important SP on the map, as well as the most urgent. Keep in mind, as long as either Lord remains in combat, the match continues, and that's, of course, in an overtime setting. And, of course, the 12th and final PS or SP. Little dyslexia there. The last point are the random mist spawning on the map. This also creates a point of interest, something you want to go to, something the enemy team wants to go to, fight over to gain control. Hopefully you guys have a better understanding of this really awesome battleground, which you could probably nickname COD, Champions of Dusk. In all honesty, I've played a ton of World of Warcraft, 7 years of PvP in World of Warcraft, Wildstar, SWTOR. This is arguably one of the best, if not the best, and most fun, dynamic, and unique battlegrounds I've ever been in. That's a huge statement from a hardcore PvPer. Give it a shot, have some fun, use this guide, and I guarantee you're going to feel like you're making a contribution even if you're a noob, just like me. This is Luxley saying, whatever it is by you, morning, afternoon, or night, make it great. Luxley out.